stacks on her mind, grinding all day, hustle refined, shattering ceilings, she's fierce and untamed. Boss is her title, wealth is her game.
You know, I love connecting music and the topic we're going to discuss today. And we've been listening to Lofi, and I was asking Julie if you recognize this song, if you've heard it before. It's called Silver Lining. So let me know how you like it, folks. What do you think of this one? I would really love to know. Now, she's a newer artist, as I was mentioning, and she's actually getting a lot of play right now, even though she has a very, very classic sound. And you know, I love linking music with the theme we're going to discuss today. So I thought Silver Lining would be so fitting for our guest today, who's been jamming with me in the background. I appreciate you. I think actually when you start to reflect on any entrepreneur's journey, and I was doing that myself as I listened to this song, I just thought about all the bumps in the road that we normally experience, right? All the lessons that nobody prepares you for. Also, all the triumphs and the regrets. So I cannot wait to delve into this impressive founder's journey today, just to discover what some of the silver linings she discovered along the way were. I cannot wait to find out. So again, today's episode is one you're going to love. We're going to dive into the founder, Julie Cole, she's someone who turned something simple, a simple problem, into a thriving global brand. She's not only the co-founder of Mabel's Labels, the company behind those brilliant, durable, customizable labels every parent swears by, but she's also, get this, an award-winning entrepreneur, author, and sought-after speaker. Julie Cole, my partner in crime out here on the dance floor, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. That was such a jam coming in that way. That song was beautiful.
Oh, I'm so glad you're enjoying it. Honestly, it's such a treat to have you here. And I figure for listeners who may not know your backstory, can you just take us to the beginning? How did actually Mabel's Labels actually go from a kitchen table idea to this big household name?
Yeah, right. Okay. So, 22 years ago, believe it or not, Mabel's Labels started, and it started for a couple of reasons. We started in my sister's basement, and it was because of two things in particular. One was that we had a good product idea. I started this business with my sister and two good friends from college, and we were young parents, and we were losing stuff, and we were using masking tape and permanent marker, and it wasn't working. And we thought there's got to be a good, durable, personalized product out there that we'll have our kids' names so that their stuff comes home from daycare and from playgroup and camp and all of those places. And there really wasn't. So we knew we wanted to create a dishwasher, microwave safe label. And eventually, I know. And you know, it's so funny because people are always like, wait, how did you come up with a good idea? And I'm like, go through your day, find something that pisses you off and fix it, because that's exactly what we did. So, you know, I fix something, find a problem and solve it, right? Because if you're having a problem with it, somebody else is out there and there's probably a market. So that was the first thing. And then the second reason, particularly for me, was that at that time, I have 6 kids, right? So the eldest child at the time had just turned 3 and was diagnosed with autism. And I've got, you know, I was a lawyer and I just didn't think that the traditional workforce was going to suit my family anymore. I wanted to be able to advocate for him and you know, run programs. And, you know, it was going to be, I knew my life was a gong show. So that's what I said to the gals. Hey, we had this really good idea for a business. And now I've got this kid with the diagnosis that I got to deal with. And I don't, you know, I need some more flexibility in my life. What do you think? Oh, and gong show. Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so that's what we started. So then we're like, let's do this.
That's unbelievable. That is just an unbelievable story. I just think anybody with that much going on, if you are that woman who has 6 kids that's going to put this potentially impossible idea at the time together and say, you know what, let's throw this in the mix. A lot of respect for you, girl. Because at the end of the day, even people with much simpler lives might have ideas they sit on just because it might just feel too small or it might be too risky. So after recognizing that you're like, at the end of the day, like this person that has a lot of gumption. What was the spark that made you say, you know what, I know I got lots going on, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to actually bring this idea to life. What
Right.
was the spark?
Yeah.
It's easy to say
So,
no with 6 kids.
I think
I'd
there
say
were
no
a
with
couple
2.
of things. It sure is easy to say no, but at the same time, I knew I did love working, and I knew that I would be a better mom if I had something else that suited my family, but it was something sort of outside of them. So I knew myself well enough to know that. I think the real spark was, that necessity piece, right? Like the thing missing from the market and needing to do a pivot in my family life. And then also, and, you're as a solo entrepreneur, you folks have so much to do. And for me, like having co-founders was really, I think it really helped emotionally, mentally, financially, all those things, because you have to have a little bit of an appetite for risk, right? But when you do have co-founders, you're like, okay, well, we can spread the risk out. Or when I'm having a day thinking, what the heck have we done? Why do we think we could do that? They could be like, dude, we've got this, we're good, and vice versa. So having sort of that, emotional support and remember 22 years ago, it was a very lonely journey because there weren't podcasts to listen to. There weren't Facebook groups or, it was all very like not internety back then, right? So having those co-founders, I think, brought that support, and it also meant we could divide and conquer the work, the risk, and be there to support each other. So I think that really, in those early days and that spark, that made it feel like something that was doable.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you had these peers, and I didn't know you were a lawyer, by the way, because I actually deal with a lot of lawyers in my day job as a financial planner, and lots of lawyers come on the show and tell their story of reinventing themselves after law. So it's so fascinating that you're in that wonderful company.
Yeah, I say I'm a recovered lawyer.
Yes, I hear this a lot. And I think, again, good for you for being that person who can take that risk, but also recognizing how important, because I don't think things have changed that much. In fact, Julie, I think community is still so important. Having like a group of peers that you can bounce ideas off of, as you said, in your case, be in a partnership with, especially with all that you would have going on, spread the financial risk. So having that peer group, I still think is so crucial, even if you have all of these other, all these other resources now, like the internet, like podcasts. Nothing beats sitting face to face with people who you can like ideate with and discuss things with and share stress with, right? So I really appreciate you talking about that community. And of course, like building a business isn't just about a great idea. So even when you have all of that collaboration, it's also about growing and hiring and leading, and of course, sometimes stumbling along the way. So as you grew with your co-founders, your partners, and as you scaled Mabel's Labels, what were some of those big lessons you learned as a founder or a co-founder and as a leader?
Yeah, the lessons were aplenty. So, I mean, I'll start with the fact that there were 4 of us. So that was really great, but we also had to learn how to manage all of our different personalities,
Totally.
different opinions, and our different communication styles. So that was also like a constant source of learning. And that was really important to make sure we navigated that properly not only for our relationships, but for the health of the business as well.
Well, I just wanted to mention, as you say that, it's like a business marriage, right? Because now you've signed up to be, committed to these people, and like money, finances, and dreams together.
Right. For sure. And I tell people, when you're going to in a partnership like this, make sure you do all the things early on, like put a shareholders agreement in place when you're all still friends, and make sure that, you're learning how each other communicates. I've got a friend who's got a business with a sibling and her husband, and they have a therapy session every week to make sure that their relationship stays good, whether they're doing well or not. That is a priority. And I think it's so smart, because you want the leaders in the company to feel healthy and to be well so that the company can do well. So I think that was a really big lesson going in. I think another thing that is difficult for entrepreneurs often is because it's something you build and you love and it's kind of your baby, it's sometimes hard to let go. And I know for us, we were okay when we did our initial hires, which were, people who made labels and stuffed envelopes and that sort of thing. But when we hired people who were managers, that was a little bit trickier. So, it was suddenly we had to let other people make decisions. And we learned that we had to let that happen. We had to hire people who knew things that we didn't know, who had different ways of approaching things. And we learned that if you micromanage managers, they'll leave. You want to give them a
done that.
And it is hard for entrepreneurs because you do feel so tied to the business. So I think a really important takeaway is that you've got to let go. You've got to let people learn. You've got to let people make mistakes. You can't micromanage. And then if you do that, then you will have people who stick around. You have people that will be entrepreneurial, which is good for your business. And I do think that this can happen very successfully as long as you hire and fire by your core values. So I think it is important for business folks to know, like, what are the hills that we will die on? What is so important to our brand? And then integrate that into your interview questions. These are the things that you will not negotiate on, and know what they are. I mean, one of the beautiful things about being an entrepreneur is that you get to create a culture that you love and that you like. So for us, we knew we could be very productive at very unusual places and times, like business plans during play dates and that sort of thing. So we were never like, you have to have your butt in a chair at the office from 9 to 5 every day, because we're like, why? Like, we want people to be able to go to the kids' Christmas concert or whatever. Like, we don't want them to have to pretend they're sick. Like, just go. If you get your work done and are productive, that's what we care about. So being able to create that was really awesome. And that's a really, good lesson for people as well, to make sure that you create a culture that, suits you and fits you and is workable, So I think it's always kind of down to the people, getting the right people on the bus that are a fit, and stepping away. If you're so busy working in the business, you're not working on the business. Like, I don't know how to make a label anymore, and I shouldn't.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so many pieces of knowledge and these gems of wisdom that you just imparted to our audience that I wanted to just dig into a little bit more around. The right people on the bus includes the people that you're going to potentially partner with, making sure they're a good fit, doing, some due diligence around them, making sure you make sure that that's, like, again, it's a business marriage. So making sure that that's going to be the right chemistry as time goes on, and really continuing to invest in that, whether it's through regular meetings, figuring out communication styles, therapy. There's so much that happens with people and dealing with people, that if you're taking on the commitment, it sounds like, of partnering with someone, you really have to know who you're dealing with and how you're going to work together when things get challenging, as they will, like in any long-term relationship, when you're talking about money and dreams, right?
For sure. And what, to your point, like, you need to know who you're getting into bed with as far as co-founders, but also, to your point, like, you want to know who you're getting into bed with as far as your team, and
100%. That's exactly what
your suppliers, your consultants, who you're going to do a co-brand collaboration with, because they all represent your brand. You have to work with these people, and people always think, oh, it must be nice being your own boss, not being a boss. And I'm like, I got 3,000 bosses now.
I say that all the time. I feel like a what do I call it? A glorified employee of my practice. I've said that.
Exactly.
So it's very easy because I've been there as well, where you get excited about working with somebody, you don't do your due diligence, and then you're like, oh, I should have done that. And it goes back to as you said, all of those people on the bus, and really making sure you're infusing those culture questions, those values that you definitely want to know the people you're bringing on share in those interview questions. And then, the other thing that you said is letting go, right? Like, that's a challenge when you're that person who built something, and you figuring out when you are able, when you should be walking away and giving people autonomy to do those tasks that you shouldn't be doing anymore, right? So that you can continue to create value in your company. Fantastic points that I think a lot of
Yeah. Sorry, we had a little overlap there, but I just want to say, because you reminded me, like, a very important thing when you're doing these hires and that letting go is, leaving your ego at the door. You don't want to hire people who are just going to be like, Julie, you're the best, or just have the skills as me. You want to hire somebody with skills that you don't have. Hire somebody smarter than you. Hire somebody that's better than you. And a lot of entrepreneurs are very like ADD, right? Like, so there's lots of ideas. Yeah. Thank God for 5 hands. Lots of ideas. But then it's like, okay, who's following through? Who's doing the process? Who's following up? Who's making sure? So you want to make sure, if you're that entrepreneur who's like, hey, look at me and look at all my ideas, you want to hire somebody who's a very type A, who will make sure the invoices go out, that the supplies will be ordered once all the fun stuff like creating is done.
100%. I'm in finance. So my compliance person, operations person is tight. They're like, we always talk about being the office husband and wife, because truly neither of us can function without the other. It's that we just work. But it's really, to your point, finding that person and making sure it's the right fit, and being able to communicate. So thank you so much for sharing that, because yes, it's all about, and many successful founders say this, is don't find people who are your yes people, find people who will challenge you and will complement what you need in your business. Now, another question about your growth journey is, what challenge would you say surprised you most along the way?
Ooh, surprised us most. Well, I'm going to say there was a challenge that we were anticipating that didn't challenge us the way we thought it would. And I'm going to use it as a warning for people who are out there, like us, who are bringing a new product to market. So often a big piece of bringing a product to market is educating the market that they need you. So we were like, okay, how are we going to let parents know that they need our product? And luckily for us, once the product went out, it made sense to the market. And luckily for us, our market was moms. And you know what moms do? We yip yap. We talk about products we love and hate like it's our full-time job. So, this was before social media, of course, but moms were talking about us at the daycare drop off, at the side of the ballet recital. People would see our labels and be like, what is that? So moms were talking, but then we were very good about, when social media hit, we jumped on board very soon, because to your point earlier, building community is huge. And also it became a vehicle for word of mouth. We were in those early days reaching out to all the mall bloggers who have trusted audiences and doing that sort of thing. So I think for anybody who might be listening, who's thinking about bringing a new product to market, who've done that thing like, okay, I'm annoyed, I'm going to fill that gap. You have to make sure that the market needs it, or you have a plan to educate them to need it.
Yeah, which means you have to know your product more than anyone, and who would want it, how are they going to use it, because you kind of need to think about it like your grand pitch to whoever would be vested in this product, right? So I really appreciate you putting that out there, because there's probably lots of founders working on things and haven't necessarily thought about all of these things from every angle. So now let's talk about another favorite subject of mine, which is money and mindset. So one thing I actually really love about your story is that you don't shy from the financial side of the business at all. And since our audience is full of hiring women who want to grow their wealth and also create an impact, what role did financial decision-making play in your journey? And were there any money lessons you had to learn the hard way?
Yeah. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're a business, right? Like, this isn't, and a lot of women traditionally have some money trauma. This can happen culturally. It can happen from a gender perspective. And so it's almost like if we're making money, like there's something greedy or selfish about it. And there's not. This is not a non-for-profit. This is a business. And often also because we started as like moms, we were kind of that early mompreneur, and people mistakenly think I know, they think you're hobbyists, right?
Yeah, that's right.
We're
not.
Like, we're business people. Like, I never made a label for fun. Like, this is,
exactly.
So we're not hobbyists. So I think there's stereotypes that we fight, and we also fight our, from a cultural perspective, a lot of, men traditionally have been the accountants, and men have done the money stuff, have managed the finances and families and things like that. Now, obviously, we're seeing a big shift. So we needed to really make sure that, now luckily one of our partners came from a finance background, so that was incredibly helpful. But we were always watching that bottom line. We are always budgeting. We are always making sure, when we're planning to scale that we could at certain times. We are always in those early days, any money we made was going back into the business. We agreed that we were going to live like paupers for quite a long time. We also made sure we had an excellent accountant that we trusted and actually acted like an advisor to us as well. And so I think putting all those things in place and making sure that you've got the professional support, and that sometimes you might have to be like, okay, right. Oh gosh, I don't know how to read a P&L. I need to learn to do that. Yeah. So you have to be learning as well. And you have to not be embarrassed to ask questions. If you don't know why a number's there, I don't care if you look like an idiot, you ask and get the answer. This is your money. You're the one who has skin in the game. At the end of the day, this is your money. So you need to be aware of everything. So, educate yourself, make sure you do good hires, that you have professionals that you trust, and stick to, don't go crazy. Don't get all caught up in I've got a business. People romanticize it, right? They think it's all going to be like totally. 10 talks, book deals, and you're going to be driving Porsches. No, you know what you're going to be doing? Making labels with a secondhand car and no holiday for 3 years because you're just done without your lawyer's salary. So that's the reality.
I'm so grateful for you saying all of this, because people sometimes watch social media and entrepreneurs and think
it's hot right now. And entrepreneurship is hot right now. And I sometimes think, you need to manage your expectations. Yes, I have done a lot of things. It's also been 22 years. I've been in line a long time.
Right. Exactly. And so I think people don't recognize the grind behind some of the things they see on social media. And it might, as you said, be lots of years of living simply and being very close to understanding your finances and how much what's coming in, what's going out, and being on a very tight, disciplined budget. And then really understanding that you have the right team that you talked about, because I find when you talk about money trauma and that women don't always occupy spaces in finance, you're talking to a girl that knows that very well. Right. And, not seeing many people that look like me in finance, in accounting, have 100%. Something called a vetted list of financial professionals, accountants, CFOs, different people. So if you're hearing this, team, and you want our vetted list of accountants, people that know how to talk to women, that aren't going to shame them if they don't answer the questions, or we're not even answering the questions. You ask them a question and they think, I don't need to answer that. You are talking to the wrong professional. So we have a vetted list of accountants, financial professionals, people that you can work with who can give you a safe space to talk about your money without any fear or shame. Because if you're dealing with those types of people and you've had trauma because you think that that's okay, it's not okay. And you can go in a different direction.
I love that. I love that so much, especially knowing what we know, which is women get 2% of investment dollars or VC dollars. We bootstrapped, but, I have a lot of women entrepreneur friends who are out fundraising to make money to start their companies, and they're not getting much. And, the other thing from a financial perspective is, make sure that you are doing all the things so that if you go to exit your business and sell your business, they're going to come in with due diligence. So you want to make sure that you've got all your contracts in place, because they're going to judge the price of your company by your EBITDA times whatever. And when they come in and do due diligence and take a little peek under the covers, they might say, well, we're going to give you $1 million less because we don't see this. We don't see your tax return from that, blah, blah, blah. So really keep your housekeeping in order.
Yeah. I'll always act when it comes to your finances, like company is coming. So clean up, and, keep it simple as much as you can. So I really appreciate you saying that. Now, let's talk a little bit about legacy and leadership, because now you're at the stage where you've bootstrapped, you've, taken your company, to a point where you've gotten funding and grown. When you look at everything that you've built, what does Mabel's Labels represent to you now, beyond just the product?
Right. I think it does represent a few things. One would be, the culture we created that I spoke to earlier, having, a results focused workplace that is so, family friendly. it was funny when COVID happened, and all these companies were like, oh, we have to work from home. Everybody needs laptops. How are we going to do this? How are we going to do meetings? We already had all that in place. So we just transitioned so beautifully. And also from a cultural perspective, we have a team that's very entrepreneurial because we give them the space to be creative and to learn and to get in that sandbox, especially like, those computer nerds, they need to get in there and come up, and then they come up with systems. So then when COVID hit also, we lost camp season, but they immediately put a team together, like not me, the team. And they're like, okay, what are we going to do? Well, we have printing equipment. We can make big signs, big stickers that say stand 6 feet apart and then market those. Like they came up with ideas right away because, they're entrepreneurial, they're innovative, highly productive because that's the culture. So that's been huge for us. Community, that's really, community is huge. We've got, I'm meeting with moms all the time, meeting with customers, talking to moms, speaking at events, doing media. We're always thinking about how can we make moms or parents' lives easier, not just with our products, but with every bit of content we shoot. How do we keep them engaged? How do we keep it fun? How do we entertain and delight our customers? Customer service is so very important to us. And then, living by those core values as well has been huge. So I think those are the legacy things. One of the things that, does give, I think a founder or a co-founder such joy is when you look around and you see all the people on your team and you're like, wow, we have to do well because we're feeding families. Like people are coming to work right? Like that felt huge. When that happened, I'm like, oh, this is big responsibility now. It's not just our families on the line, it's other families. Yeah.
That's it. And that's something, I know for myself, it was something I feared. And then something I welcomed because I could be proud that I could do that. And I think there's so many founders out there that's a part of their story now, that entrepreneurship that you talk about. And so for those of you who aren't familiar with the term, it just means building entrepreneurs who are actually inside your company. I'm trying to think of the founder who talks about this. I think I'm just trying to think of the
Ooh, I'm trying to think who you might be thinking of.
Yeah, it's Charlie.
But it's good for.
Yeah, Charlie. I want to say.
I'm Googling it.
Charlie, I can't think of his name, but he's.
You're gonna wake up at 2 a.m. You're gonna wake up at 2 a.m. and be like, oh, there it is.
Partner, yep. Charlie Munger. Charlie Munger always talks about. He's the entrepreneur for Warren Buffett. That's who it is.
And that's it. That's, you've got the balance out there, right? So if you have a culture that's entrepreneurial, they're going to find better systems. They're going to be more creative and innovative. And guess what? That's good for keeping them on board and good for your bottom line. So everybody wins.
It's a win-win. So talking through that, and then you also mentioned just always thinking about reaching out to your community and figuring out how you can make it easier for them. Love that. And I think such an important role founders can play in that. And just also, as you said, building that culture where you understand what your core values are and really making sure you're taking people on that embody that, and also that you can continue to grow, lean into that more. I just think that's really sage advice. And that's the kind of leadership we actually need to see more of, especially in the world we live in now, is just women building businesses that not only just solve problems, but lift communities and create opportunities for others.
For sure. And we know that. And we know that women-led companies are more philanthropic. I mean, we need more women leaders. And, people have this idea of what leadership looks like, and we don't need to lead like men. We can lead as empathetic leaders. I've seen introverted leaders who are exceptional. I have seen the servant leader style. It's beautiful. Yes. We don't have to go in there and be like men and be like, get it on my desk. And we don't have to, don't have to be that. And let's not be that. I mean, in those early days, you did see women who had leadership positions and they felt they had to just meld into this mold. Let's not. Can we not?
I love that you create this alternative that so many women are just struggling, not recognizing that they can choose their own path. So thank you for giving women founders out there who haven't yet done this permission to go and forge their own path. So any other advice for future founders? Because I'm just thinking about hiring women listening who might have this idea bubbling up inside their head, but they haven't acted on it yet. What's your best piece of advice for getting started?
I guess there's a couple of things. I mean, the realization that there's never a good time. It's like deciding like I'll have a baby when we have enough money. Or like you're never gonna have enough money. You're never gonna have enough time. You're never gonna have any of that. So just do it. You know,
If
just
anybody
launch.
should believe that, it's
Yeah.
the people listening to you, Miss Six Kids, and I think the child who would definitely need more support from you. I
Yeah.
think I'll just start a business with
Right.
other people. Where I have other people I have to deal with, just for fun, just for kicks, right? I thought
Yeah.
you were a unicorn, my dear. But if you can do it, anybody should be able to
Honestly,
do it.
anybody. But I will say too, I want to say, and I think this is something that's not talked about often enough as well, is that I was able to leave my full-time job to do this, which means I was coming from a place of privilege. Daddy-O was making enough money that our family could still be sustained on one salary, and I was able to go and try this. Now, huge respect for, single mom running 2 jobs and then start something on the side. I'm like, people are always like, oh, you're such a hero. I'm like, no, she's the hero, because I came from, parents who could self-regulate, sent us all to university,
Right.
raised me to be confident in myself, said I could do anything I want, sent me to law school, like all of these things. So I don't think I was that risky, because I was like, I can do this. I've been told all my life I can do things. So I just do like to every once in a while remind people that, when Kardashians start a new lipstick, it's coming from a place that's different to, my friend who's an Indigenous woman who started a makeup brand for Indigenous women, like different. Okay, it's different. So
I honestly
let's just
think
point
that
that
you're
out.
shining a light on that and shouting out women who come from nothing and create something. It's a different
Huge
vibe,
respect. That's
and
right.
there's respect on both sides.
Yeah.
And it's all about lifting women in many communities coming from different challenges, trying to do something that hasn't been done before. We want to lift all of those women up. So I really, really appreciate you for saying that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think another thing too, and to your point around community, is I really do think it's important to make sure, if you're the smartest person in the room, find a new room,
Yes.
always be challenging yourself, always be a lifelong learner. If you're like, I'm too old for that, or I can't learn that, this isn't really going to work for you. So make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who also are your cheerleaders, who want to see you do well. If you're following somebody on social media who makes you feel bad about anything, dude, there's block for a reason. Like, curate who you follow. Like Babe Ruth said, the loudest boos from the cheapest seats. Those people don't get seats in your life. They don't get to watch, right? So make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people who bring value.
Absolutely. It's so funny. I'm, a Gen X. I'm putting it out there based on the music I listen to. People often know that, but it's funny because the lots of people on my team are millennials or Gen Zs, who they're always, I'm always saying things that nobody in that generation understands until they Google it, because that's what they do. And on the flip side, I'm learning things from them. And, I think that if it wasn't for my team, I wouldn't be as tech savvy as I am.
Right.
So I always think it's important for people to know you don't always just have to learn from people above you, maybe age-wise, with wisdom. Learning and growth can come from anyone if you have an open mind. Would you agree?
For sure. I totally agree, but I got to tell you, this is so funny. So like last week I was doing this reel on Instagram, and I said to my daughter, Jessamy, who's a teenager, I'm like, Jess, can you just have a look at this reel before I hit publish and tell me, what you think? She's like, Mom, I'm not going to gentle parent you with your social media anymore. And I'm like, oh, got it.
Whoa,
noted.
Gentle parent.
Yeah, not gentle parenting me anymore. Fine thing.
Yikes. Well,
I had to do on my own.
Oh no. It's funny because these kids have pulled me along to do things like learn ChatGPT and all this technology. I actually went to them for validation of something I was doing. I'm like, I did this, and this with ChatGPT and created this. They're like, wow, you did that? I'm like, yeah. Is it okay that I can get some validation right now? Because this is like new me who was afraid of technology.
I know. I'm like, all I want is the teenagers to say good job.
Yes, absolutely.
And I love being bossed around by all the 30-year-olds here tell me what to do. I love
Exactly.
it. I love it. I'm
This
here
is
for
my
it.
life. And it's a great feeling to have that. And it comes with lots of craziness, right? As you know, lots of humbling and even, yeah, those ups and downs that we were talking about. And so anyway, before I let you go, because I'm just enjoying this interview so much, I would love to do a firing round with you. And I want to know if you're ready. Just quick answers for this. So first one is, first thing you do in the morning to set yourself up for success.
By me.
Okay, good. What would be the first thing you do in the morning to set yourself up for success?
First, oh God, feet hit the floor. I don't know. Honestly, like mornings, I do get up, there's a few kids still around
Sure.
and get everybody, get out, go to where you need to be. I do try, especially now that I'm in that stage of life, I do try to get to the gym first thing. Just because I can feel like and it's not for any other reason other than I have an 85-year-old mother who's like, Julie, will you clip my toenails? And I'm like, oh yeah, you can't reach. So I'm trying to do things to take care of myself now so that when I'm 85, I can cut my toenails. So I probably would say moving my body has been kind of one of those things I'm trying to do now. And a hot cup of tea.
I was going to say coffee or tea. So you answered one of my firing
Oh yeah,
rounds.
it's weird. Like I don't drink coffee at all. Never have. And people are like, how'd you get through law school? How'd you get through all those kids? But I'm always just a plain tea, not even herbal, like just English breakfast tea.
Okay, so you're a teetotaler. Yeah. Okay, good to know. Yeah. And I would love to know, what's your favorite way to celebrate a big win or a small win?
Oh, it's so funny because actually part of the Mabel's Labels culture is to celebrate everything. So, it doesn't even have to be a big celebration. Sometimes it's just acknowledging, and it can be so random, right? Like we have a good product launch or somebody does something, like one of our community manager had her first TikTok, or Mabel's Labels TikTok went viral. And we were just like, why did that go viral? So we made her a big certificate and decorated her desk and stuff like that. Just silly things like that. It's just fun. I think having a culture of celebration just means that people end up feeling good and recognized and appreciated by everyone on the team.
And seen. I love it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. What's a non-negotiable in your business life?
Oh, a non-negotiable? Good question. I guess, I guess I would say family first. I will walk out if I get a call right now. That's something I will walk out of this right now. I say that, but these kids have also had me miss birthdays because I had speaking engagements. I'm okay with that. But if it comes down to it, if I have a kid in crisis, if I have a kid who's like, Mom, I need you, man, I'm there. That's first. And that's for everyone on this team. If they don't have kids, you have elder care, you have a pet that's sick, anything, we have to prioritize. If we can't do that, we got problems.
Yeah. See, I hear you. I think that's crucial, is figuring out what your priorities are and sticking to them as best you can, right?
And supporting those with their priorities, even if it doesn't make sense to you. That's all right. That's their priority. You need to respect that.
Noted. Mm-hmm. All right. So final question. What's next for you, professionally or personally or professionally, that excites you the most?
That's such a good question. And I have such a boring answer because really, I am here at Mabel's Labels still after all these years, and I just love it so much. I feel very privileged in that I get to, through my role, do a lot of fun things. I'm going to Scottsdale next week to do a mom event. Then I'm in LA for a week, speaking at the Prego Expo and at the Eat, Sleep, Play events. I have so much fun. I do a lot of media. I do a lot of connecting with people. And that's what I love. I love people. I love connecting. And it's that's my job. That's my job, is doing the things I love most.
Doesn't sound like retirement is in your future, Julie.
No time soon. They'll have to carry me out in a box, I think.
I could see it. All right. Well, I'll have to speak more privately to you about your other founders on how that's going to look. Julie, thank you so much for sharing your founder's journey with us. You are truly living proof that when you follow that spark, lean into risk, Stay grounded in your values. You can build something that really changes lives. And look at you winning a few awards along the way. To everyone listening, I hope Julie's story inspires you to take that next step toward your big idea. And that's it for today's episode of the High Earning Women podcast. If you love today's conversation, I would love for you to stay connected. Please follow our firm's LinkedIn page at Team Jackie Porter. That's actually where we share insights, resources, and updates you won't want to miss. And if you keep listening to more episodes of this podcast, you can find us on all of your favorite audio platforms. And that includes Spotify, Deezer, Amazon Music, Player FM, and many more. Just search for the Jackie Porter High Earning Women podcast and hit follow so you never miss a conversation. And really, remember to like and share our podcast with a friend if this episode resonated for you. Any entrepreneur will tell you the journey is not an easy one. But just like a life well lived, there can often be many silver linings along the way. We hope Julie's story gives you permission to take the leap to entrepreneurship if you're itching to bring your vision to life. Until next time, keep building, keep earning, and keep living the life you want. Be in touch soon, High Earning community. See you next time. Thanks again for being here, Julie.
Chatter is seething, G steers in octane.
That was so fun.
Wealth